Hello there. Now that our political parties are gearing up for a Brexit-based general election, the Brexiteer side is beset by arguments over whether the Boris Withdrawal Agreement Treaty is real Brexit or just Brexit in name only. The argument over whether the Boris Johnson Withdrawal Agreement Treaty was Brexit or Brino has been going on ever since the PM brought his amendments to the Theresa May Surrender Treaty back from Brussels. But before going on, I will point out that the Remainer campaigners are probably more badly riven than the Leavers are. The People's Vote group has basically run aground, as its staff claim that their chairman, Roland Rudd, is trying to force them to drop any assertion that the People's Vote is about a non-partisan vote on Brexit and turn it into a full-on anti-Brexit organisation. This has caused concern amongst those that were hoping that a non-partisan approach would widen their potential base by also attracting Leave voters to their cause of simply having a vote on the deal. And that of course would not happen if the People's Vote went full and openly Remain, as it would obviously scare off any Brexit-minded people. Green MP Caroline Lucas was said to be unhappy with this, and Tony Blair's former spin doctor Alistair Campbell said, "While the staff have been busy fighting for a People's Vote, Rudd has been engaged close to full-time in boardroom politics, a board which, with few exceptions, has done little for the campaign." So just as we go into a general election, overall what we've now got is the obvious left or right split and the equally obvious Leave or Remain split. But tagged onto that, we're also faced with a revoke or second referendum split and a Boris Treaty or Farage no deal Brexit split. The only thing we're missing here is a banana split. And as someone wittily observed on Twitter, with the Brexit Party you'll get a real Brexit, with the Tories you'll get a fake Brexit, with the Lib Dems you'll get no Brexit at all, but with the Labour Party no one knows what we'll get except problems that make Brexit look insignificant. Now if the press and polls are to be believed, Boris Johnson and his right-of-centre Conservative Party look to be ahead with their message of getting Brexit done via the updated Theresa May Withdrawal Agreement Treaty. But the news coming out today is that the Tory party manifesto will include a commitment not to leave the EU unless a deal is in place, and that Boris wants to get his treaty ratified straight after the election. Interpreted, that means that Boris has taken no deal off the table. Now, many Boris Johnson supporters had been drawn to his campaign as they thought he would be more likely to head for the hard Brexit door. So, once voted in with a hefty majority, they thought he would either renegotiate more concessions from the EU using the real prospect of a no-deal Brexit as leverage, or even just go full WTO Brexit. But this latest news will soon make people realise that by pledging to never allow a no-deal Brexit, Boris will himself be removing that negotiating position. That draws the inevitable conclusion that a Tory majority in the election automatically brings the Boris deal as written with it. Now the Brexit Party, the Bruges Group and Facts for EU have all levelled many criticisms at the Boris Treaty. So the thought of Boris standing by a treaty that he negotiated with one, if not two hands tied behind his back by the Benn Surrender Act, has of course left many Brexiteers, especially the Nigel Farage Brexit Party supporters, worried about some sort of stitch-up. Especially when we'll be paying the thick end of £39 billion for the privilege. And many people, having watched the antics of both UK and EU politicians over the past 3.5 years, which has shown the gory details of the pitiful state that our political system and its political class is in, will be rightly suspicious of any claim made by any government. And it should be understood by those attempting to sell the Boris deal that those true Brexiteers that have been fighting a long, hard and sometimes bitter fight against all the odds to win that 2016 referendum will take a lot of convincing that this withdrawal agreement has successfully morphed from Theresa May unacceptable to overnight becoming Boris Johnson wonderful. And for myself, I see little of this other than members of the Tory party ERG, like Jacob Rees-Mogg and Mark Francois, saying, "Trust us. If we like it, so should you." Hence the healthy dose of scepticism shown by the Brexit Party. But in their desire to bring the shortcomings of the Boris Johnson deal to the attention of the public, the more ardent Brexiteers should be careful not to over-egg the pudding. And I'll give an example of this. It is claimed that should the UK sign up to the withdrawal agreement and political declaration, the UK would, under Article 129 of the withdrawal agreement, be permanently prevented from taking any action likely to conflict with or impede the foreign policy objectives of the European Union. And this is based on the missing words of "during the transition period" in the text. Now, firstly, this whole document is there to control the withdrawal and transition phase, and apart from where it puts extended timeframes in place, it stops on the 31st of December 2020. Secondly, this particular section is referring to the UK deciding not to go along with an EU Council decision to participate in some foreign policy external action venture. And the full Article 129(6) says, "Following a decision of the Council falling under Chapter 2 of Title 5 of the Treaty on the European Union, the United Kingdom may make a formal declaration to the High Representative of the Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, indicating that, for vital and stated reasons of national policy, in those exceptional cases it will not apply the decision. In a spirit of mutual solidarity, the United Kingdom shall refrain from any action likely to conflict with or impede Union action based on that decision, and the Member States shall respect the position of the United Kingdom." And further, earlier on in the withdrawal agreement at section 1271, it reiterates that EU law applies only to the end of the transition period, and at Article 127(6) it goes on to say, "In the event that the Union and the United Kingdom reach an agreement governing their future relationship in the areas of the common foreign and security policy and the common security and defence policy, which becomes applicable during the transition period, Chapter 2 of Title 5 of the TEU and the acts adopted on the basis of those provisions shall cease to apply to the United Kingdom from the date of application of that agreement." That says to me that the provisions that are claimed to be permanently stopping the UK from pursuing a foreign policy of its own actually come to an end when the transition period finishes, at the latest. Further, in the political declaration, it says at section 99 that where agreements to cooperate are concerned, such an agreement would be without prejudice to the decision-making autonomy of the Union or the sovereignty of the United Kingdom, and the United Kingdom will maintain the right to determine how it would respond to any invitation or option to participate in operations or missions. So to my layman's eye, that tells me that the UK is not permanently trapped, only constrained during the transition period. And does that only last a year, then is that so onerous? Now, many Brexiteers may not believe this, so I would just urge them to read it for themselves. And if I'm wrong, come back and tell us all. Because there's nothing as damaging to one's own cause as unknowingly peddling what the Remainers could label as misinformation. Now don't misinterpret this as me telling you that all is sweetness and light within the Boris Treaty. I am still extremely suspicious of it. The real issue for Brexiteers here is that over the last 4+ decades, the so-called establishment has changed from being solely concerned with looking after the UK, its interests and citizens, into being more concerned with the well-being of the EU and how the UK can help pay for and help it become a new superstate, but without properly consulting the people of the UK about it in the process. So having never much trusted our politicians in the first place, and having seen them in recent action over Brexit, we are now forced to treat every single utterance they make as an absolute lie. Let's take a look at another claim. Those that support the deal say that we will be free of the European Court of Justice, but those on the side of a no-deal Brexit say we will be under ECJ jurisdiction for many, many years. Maybe the truth is somewhere in the middle. From my reading of it, it appears that the UK will be under ECJ jurisdiction until the transition period ends. But then there's a 4-year period during which any specific cases can be brought against the UK for our misdemeanours up until the end of the transition period, and those cases will be dealt with by the ECJ at last resort. And then ECJ jurisdiction remains ongoing over those specific cases until they are completed. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but how reasonable or unreasonable does that concept sound to you? I'm sorry that I can't give you any hard and fast answers here, only more questions. Questions our politicians, monitored by an unbiased press, should be lining up to explain properly to us. So it really is a pity that we don't have a completely unbiased body in the UK that we could trust to sort out the wheat from the chaff and give us the real bottom line here, isn't it? Anyway, what do you think? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching. Please do like and share this video, and also subscribe to my channel. And when subscribing, please do remember to press on the little bell next to the subscribe button. That way you'll get an alert every single time I put up a new video. And thank you very much for watching.